It's officially been over a year that we've lived in our new home. So I thought, let's do like a garden update, garden tour video. It's already June, so we've already done a lot, but I have way more ideas and more things I want to do. Having a yard for the kids has been an absolute game changer. At the same time, I'm a beginner to gardening. You know, like my yard is not perfect and I'm like a normal person living in the suburbs of Chicago, you know, trying to make things look nice back here on a reasonable budget. Welcome back to my channel. It has been quite a while. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. It is a little windy. The cicadas are loud, but I took off a couple weeks to just focus on the kids. I'm in a very challenging season of life right now. My youngest just turned 1. I've never had a kid over 1 that isn't already walking, and he will not walk. He's refusing to walk. He's my biggest kid. I'm constantly having to carry him, but he's crawling and he's climbing and he's getting into everything. He just won't walk on his own. So that being said, I just felt like I couldn't do anything besides being a mom. Like I could not even think about filming, even think about editing. So I took a few weeks off for just my mental health to really try to get things back in order. Is everything back in order? Not exactly, but I did miss filming and I missed you guys. So I thought, let's do like a garden update, garden tour video, because honestly, any extra bit of time I have, which isn't a ton, I'm usually spending gardening, which has been my new hobby. It's officially been over a year that we've lived in our new home. Last year, I shared a lot about our yard, some of the work that we've done. It's already June, so we've already done a lot for this year already, but I have way more ideas and more things I want to do. So I recognize that we are so blessed to have this house and this yard and this space, especially coming from a condo. It's like something I will never take for granted. Having a yard for the kids has been an absolute game changer. At the same time, I'm a beginner to gardening. You know, like my yard is not perfect and I'm like a normal person living in the suburbs of Chicago, you know, trying to make things look nice back here on a reasonable budget. I'm by no means a pro. I have a long way to go, but I do think it's fun to share my gardening journey. So if that is content that you want to continue seeing, please let me know in the comments and I'll try to continue sharing my journey. Okay, with sweat literally dripping down my back, let's get started. For those who are new here, I'm in the suburbs of Chicago, currently zone 6A, I believe, and this past month we've had a huge cicada emergence, actually 2 different broods. It's kind of been hard to enjoy my yard recently, but it seems to have died down now. It was really, really bad before. Here's a view of the yard right at the back door. Most of the gardening we've done so far has been on the south side of our home. That's the area we're trying to build a privacy hedge, also where we get the most sun. Most of the yard is shaded from this huge maple tree. This gate leads to my veggie garden. I recently fixed up the flagstone path here. When we moved in, it was a big old mess with buried stone and pea gravel everywhere, so I dug it all up and rearranged it. Unfortunately, this very attractive sewerage thing is right here and I need to cover it up somehow, maybe with some potted plants or something. Next, I added in some ground cover called Mazis reptans. This will spread to grow in between the pavers. They bloom really beautiful lavender flowers in the spring and I just love the look of ground cover between pavers. I'm so excited for this to spread by next summer. It'll be completely full. Now, this stone actually goes all the way under here, under our grill as well, but I'm not gonna do any of this now because I'll probably have to put something different in between those if I get to it later. The vent is another eyesore here, of course, so leave any ideas in the comments on how to get some coverage for that. For now, I'm happy with how this turned out, and I just laid some mulch between the stones to give it a more finished look. Right outside that, below the window, I planted some feverfew flowers that my sister gave to me. It should get nice and tall and fill in that area down there, and then above that is my little herb window box. I keep it outside our breakfast nook window so me and the kids can reach and just grab some whenever we need for cooking or just snacking on. Surprisingly, yes, my kids will snack on this stuff. I have some lavender, basil, oregano, cilantro, and rosemary. Next to this area, I haven't decided what to do with it. Currently, I have the ladder blocking some really cute pipes over there and just need to do some overall cleanup. Next to that is the actual vegetable garden. So I added the critter guard here because something keeps eating my broccoli and some of my peppers. I think it's a bunny, but I've got some cucumbers trailing up nicely, some sweet peppers, watermelon. We'll see if that even grows. This sad broccoli that keeps getting eaten the second it produces anything. Cauliflower, some lettuce. I potted some mint, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes are coming in nicely. And I did buy the strawberry terracotta pot off Facebook Marketplace because I really wanted to try this method for growing strawberries. Aria loves checking on the strawberries every single day. It's so cute. And the other day she saw a few berries that were still kind of white and plucked them off when I wasn't looking to eat them. So I told her she needs to be patient and wait until they turn red. So that's it for my vegetables. It's pretty small right now, to be honest, but I think one of the best pieces of advice I read while starting a veggie garden is to not overwhelm yourself, especially as a first timer. Just try to choose a few things that you know your family will be eating and not overdo it. So that's what I've stayed focused on. I'm just so excited to see when new things are growing and when the kids are having fun eating lettuce or mint straight out of the garden. It just reminds me of my childhood and my mom's garden growing up. Sometimes it's easy to get down or frustrated when you see other people's gardens thriving on social media, but I think as long as you are doing what you can with your space, even if it's small, even if it's simple, that's honestly all that matters, and it is so fulfilling. Next to this area is a more imperfect section. I had some leaves that died back. So the previous owner must have planted these bulbs. They are actually fall flowers called autumn crocus. Super delicate, beautiful things that pop up in the fall, but the leaves come up in the spring and I have to let them die back, which is super ugly. I definitely need to clear this out. So I'm going to move these bulbs somewhere else because I would like to expand the veggie garden to this area. And in the corner, I planted some dahlia bulbs, which are now starting to come up and will hopefully block that meter over there nicely. Definitely learning to be patient when it comes to gardening, which is something that I struggle with. Speaking of patience, I decided last year to start growing this privacy hedge along the chain link fence. Replacing the chain link fence with a wooden fence is pretty costly, but even more importantly, I find a natural hedge to be a lot more attractive than a wood fence. So I just don't see the point in getting a fence built to only put a bunch of natural hedges in front of it. So I'm just going to go straight for the hedges. I put a lot of thought into what I want here. I knew I wanted something evergreen that will grow tall for privacy and stay there throughout the cold winter months. So last year we planted emerald green arborvitaes that I am super proud to say have survived the winter and are doing well. I do wish I bought taller ones now because this is really going to take a lot of patience for this to grow and actually give me the privacy I would like. Last month I added in some hydrangeas in between them and some hostas. I also added in a Prague viburnum, which is supposed to grow into this like large egg-shaped shrub with which flowers and might even be evergreen come winter. We will see. Again, this is a developing hedge. It will take years to fully fill in. So I have an idea in the meantime to add some height privacy here without the cost of a full fence. Hopefully I'll have a video on that in the near future because it's kind of a priority of mine to get this up. I just really like my privacy. Love my neighbors too. They are actually amazing on both sides, but I definitely love a private yard. Past this hedge area, I haven't planted anything yet. The neighbor has some beautiful tall ferns that give a little bit of color there, and I just keep our bird bath in that area, which the birds love, especially on a hot day, and we get to watch from our breakfast nook window all the time. The kids love it. In that far corner is a small little rhododendron that I just planted. That is supposed to get really huge and fill up that whole corner and bloom some really pretty flowers in the spring. So stuck my other planter back there for now to kind of fill in that space. I thought this would be the perfect corner spot for it once it's grown out, but of course things cost less when you buy them tiny, and then you just need to wait and wait and wait till they grow. So yeah, really learning that gardening is all about enjoying the process and journey, which means you don't get immediate results. I definitely want to eventually expand the garden beds in these back areas and start planting more. I'm really trying to take it slowly and take my time and not rush though. Things really add up quickly. The two trees here are the perfect distance for a hammock. I couldn't wait to get a hammock here. I got this off Amazon. It's great quality and such a nice place to relax in the shade after a long day. This area has been a WIP, work in progress. I don't know if you guys remember last year, there was flagstone all around here and pea gravel. It was very messy looking. I didn't understand why it was put here. I felt like maybe there's a purpose, maybe it has to do with water drainage, because we have 2 gutters coming right off of these posts that were basically extending out like 3 feet, okay? So when it would rain, water was kind of gathering here, but I guess the flagstone and the pea gravel did a good job of keeping it from flooding. But I just couldn't stand how messy it looked. We removed all the pea gravel, although there is still some embedded in the soil. Pea gravel has been an interesting element to work with. But then it kind of made the ground around the tile lower than everything else. So then when it started to rain, naturally water was kind of flooding around here, gathering up. We did attempt to do an underground downspout, extended a few feet from the foundation here, but it honestly didn't work well. So we scratched that idea and just recently got these 2 huge rain barrels. I searched Facebook Marketplace for a rain barrel with a planter specifically because you get a more decorative look with those types of rain barrels. I found this one for $50, which is a really good deal. Since we wanted a matching one on the other side and couldn't find one on Facebook Marketplace, we did end up buying the second one brand new. As you can see, the gutter rainwater will flow directly into the top of the barrel, fill it in nicely. I added these ferns to try to cover up the gutters a little bit more. I'm super into hanging ferns lately. I just love how they flow in the wind and they remind me of a big curly head of hair. It's best practice to elevate the rain barrel so that if you want to use the hose for water to flow out decently, it does need to be a couple feet off the ground. So we do have a hose attached to one of them to use the rainwater to water some of the plants. And then Richie built these stands to keep them elevated. I was so proud of him because he teaches himself everything, and even though it's not perfect, it does the job. I'm actually thinking of painting these black to match the wood on the porch. Let me know what you think. We actually haven't had a rainstorm yet to see how effectively this new system works and if it keeps the ground from getting flooded. So I'll have to keep you guys updated if this is sufficient enough this summer. The other side of our porch where the sidewalk is a little janky. I planted some hostas and ferns in this garden bed along the sidewalk. These were divided from my mom's garden, so they are looking a little rough from the wind. They're kind of babies, and also these beds are full of cicada carcasses, which are currently just fertilizing everything. They actually stunk for a while too. I feel like I could definitely work on sprucing up this area, but for now, free plants from my mom is something I'm grateful for because all of this really ends up adding up. I added some of those hanging ferns along the back of the house to give it a little bit more life against the brick. Let's talk about pea gravel, Richie's worst nightmare. I actually kind of like the look of pea gravel. I think there's something very charming about it, but I will say when you have children and they are constantly playing in it and kicking it around and spreading it all over the yard, it's a lot more challenging to work with. Last summer, I cleaned up all these edges by creating a border with some repurposed brick that I found in the yard. It actually did help to make it look a little less messy. This wrought iron table and chairs was another Facebook Marketplace find, which we actually bought the same day that I went into labor. I remember eating Chick-fil-A with the kids here, feeling so happy that we were in our own backyard, having our first meal outside, and then my contractions started. This is our very interesting stone structure, which must have been some sort of waterfall at one time because we did find some piping, but it no longer works. If I can get it to work again one day, it would be so beautiful. But for now, it's just 2 raised stone garden beds, which I planted some Japanese spurge in because honestly, I don't know what else to do with it at the moment. It is a very heavy shaded area and I wanted something that will stay evergreen to give some color in the winter. But if you have any ideas for these 2 raised beds, definitely let me know in the comments. As well as this center area, I think this would actually look really nice to have a ton of like vintage terracotta pots with different flowers and plants in them. I am trying to slowly collect them. I always find them used on Facebook Marketplace for the best prices, but I definitely need a ton more to achieve the look I want. So directly behind this is another area that is very tough for grass to grow since there's a lot of tree roots and shade. If you remember before, the previous owners also left a huge ton of pea gravel around this tree, which drove me up a wall. It was so messy, and I posted it on Facebook Marketplace for free because I just wanted people to come and grab it and get rid of it as soon as possible because it was so much. We got it cleared out. There's still little bits of pea gravel here and there. We did our best, but I am now very slowly trying to add some visual appeal under this tree. I think it would be really beautiful to surround it with plants and maybe some flowers that bring in some color, but I'm really spending time researching specific things that will grow well between tree roots, under the shade, perhaps some different ground cover. I'm really taking my time here before I decide what to do. For now, I just added a couple hostas against the back stone wall, which is kind of falling apart and not really appealing. So trying to cover that up, but there's a lot more work to be done here. Getting more even coverage of the grass is definitely a huge goal for Richie, especially. He is determined to grow the grass thicker and more lush everywhere, but because of the shade, because of the tree roots, because of random pea gravel spread everywhere, it has been challenging for sure. We did install a tree swing here for the kids. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, also for myself, because I did have one growing up, and tree swings are just the best. You can get so high. The kids absolutely love it. Our swing set that my brother-in-law built still gets so much use. Even though we live near a park and can walk there are days where it's just easier to let the kids out into the yard to play. So this has been so worth it. Here's our sidewalk through our other gated entry. I'd love to add something along this walkway as you come in, and even build out the garden bed along this fence. But again, I'm taking it slow. It's just so much. And realistically, gardens and homes, they take time to build. They take money, they take energy. And when you have children, you're so limited on the time that you even have. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my little garden tour transformation. Honestly, this was really nice for me to edit because I hadn't realized how far we'd even come in our garden until I saw some of those before clips. And it makes me feel like we're actually making progress, even though sometimes when you're in it, it doesn't feel like you're making much progress because you're just thinking about the end goal and how much more you have to do. So this really helped me feel more accomplished, and I hope it motivated you all as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.